Yo, I quickly wanted to discuss why simple tasks feel absolutely impossible when it comes to ADHD. Basically, ADHD has altered your brain so that you are super engaged when there are consequences, and when you don't have a ton of immediate reinforcement, your brain actually has no idea what to do. When you're doing a task that involves delayed gratification, you can continue doing that task for days, but it doesn't feel like anything is being accomplished or anything is happening. And your brain certainly doesn't learn to like or learn to do those things habitually. And naturally, as a result, because you lose focus, because you don't feel like you're engaged, because what you're doing doesn't feel like it's productive, naturally your mind will reorganize and focus on something that is way more engaging and reinforcing. And if you have a habit of doing things like playing video games or consuming weed or doom scrolling, well, then that's what it's going to naturally go back to. So basically, with ADHD, our brain has learned to prioritize things that are immediately reinforcing, and it doesn't understand what's happening when we are delaying gratification. And you may have noticed that it's really, really hard to form a habit with ADHD. I've only really developed one good, strong, positive habit over the years, and it took me months of convincing myself and reinforcing with specific stimuli. And, well, that's because your brain is wired to receive a ton of feedback so that it can inform whether what you're doing is right or wrong. Because if you think about in a video game, if you mess up in a video game, you end up losing the game. There's an immediate consequence. In life, if you end up going to the gym for the first time, well, you don't win the game. You don't really see anything as a result. And when there's no feedback for days, it feels like what you're doing is completely pointless. So naturally, you shift to something that has high feedback, like playing video games, because that's just what our brain knows. That's what our brain loves. That's how our brain feels alive. And why do you go back to these things? Well, it's because video games make you feel something. If you think about going to the gym and working out, that doesn't really make you feel anything. That makes you feel worse, if anything, right? When you play a video game and you're down bad, let's say the score is not looking in your favor and you end up coming back, well, you feel a ton of dopamine from that crazy comeback when you think you lost the game. You feel a ton of fear when you doom scroll and you constantly consume stuff that's playing into your emotions, that's emotionally charged, that's trying to evoke a response from you. When you sit down and you sit with your emotions, for example, there's a ton that's happening unconsciously that has to do with processing these emotions, but your brain has no immediate reinforcement, so it doesn't think or feel like anything is happening. And in the ADHD mind, that feels like something is going wrong. We're not doing enough. And when you work out for 2 days in a row, for example, your brain sees no immediate results. So it doesn't know how to approach these problems because it needs immediate reinforcement. That's how our learning circuitry is engaged with ADHD. All it knows is immediate reinforcement because the things we spent years, and I mean years, I have spent tens of thousands. I'm not proud of it. I've literally spent probably like 10 plus years sitting in front of a computer and playing video games. And it's because we spent so much of this time consuming things that are just by nature super reinforcing and designed to have us hooked and designed to give us immediate wins and immediate losses. But when we encounter things in life that don't seem like immediate wins or immediate losses, we literally don't know what to do. And that's why we end up so paralyzed. Because we can make some progress for a few days, but we always end up coming back to the thing that keeps us comfortable because our brain literally doesn't know what's happening. Our brain doesn't know how to learn when there's not stimulus to reinforce what it's doing. So it feels like it's wrong. It feels like it's the wrong thing to do. I hope that made sense.